Thanks for having me. Wars end with either victories or defeats, with either conquest or armistice. However, there is no victory in a war crime, yet there are always victims. We cannot win the war crime being committed in Iraq. We can only end it. How do you end a war crime, you might ask? The first thing we must do is identify it. We must not echo the notion of this war being a mistake, a failure in intelligence, a lapse of judgment, a mismanaged project with the best of intentions. We must sadly embrace the tragic notion that this is a war crime and a war by design. Next, we must collectively confront the fact that wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, torture in Guantanamo Bay, and the attentive, uninvited ears on our telephone calls are merely symptoms. They are symptoms of a deeper disease, a disease in which a man who is unelected can become president, a disease in which only those with access to astronomical amounts of money can be eligible for leadership, a disease which permits an administration that blatantly lies to the public, violates international law, and casts aside respect for humanity to remain unchecked and unbalanced. When torturers and war criminals are exposed, only in a diseased democracy will they not be brought to justice. Our disease is the failure of democracy, the lie of checks and balances, and the myth of an opposition party. It is tempting to throw the great weight of our support and energy behind the party that claims to oppose these symptoms. But we risk falling into a trap all too familiar to those of us who witnessed the war in Vietnam change hands from presidency to presidency with promises of peace and lies of honor, about honor. Please be wary of placing your faith in a new face. Please be cautious of those who continue to fund a war crime. And please don't think that this war can't last another 10 years. It will if we don't put our energy into appropriate channels of resistance. I am not saying there are not good politicians. There are good people under every stone. But these stones are in the garden. Our stones are in the garden of a failed democracy. It will only yield, this garden will only yield the same fruit it always has if we don't look for fundamental change. How do we seek this change, and what are appropriate channels of resistance? We seek change by seeking a change in consciousness. Only a people who understand these problems will work to find solutions for them. Many of us know that the changing of consciousness does not happen overnight. Many of us have evolved from thinking that this war was a decent endeavor, to this war is going badly, to this is a total disaster, to this is a war crime and how can we stop it? We must help others make this evolution. And this flood of education and understanding must be in a state of perpetual growth. As far as I know, there is no silver bullet for changing consciousness. Changing consciousness can happen at events like this. It has happened in art, and it will happen from experience. But we often neglect the simplest form of education, and that is the conversation. Talk to people. Talk to people who you know aren't activists. Talk to young people and bring them to events like these. As I said, I'm aware of no silver bullet for changing our world, but I am aware that we need to organize with each other and branch out to those who couldn't or didn't make it today. I'm also becoming more aware that people are quick to discount themselves as leaders. When a teacher poses a difficult problem to her class, and the first question from the students is, "What do you think?" And that is a sign that the students don't realize they can think. When the person on this stage or at a stage in an event like this finishes speaking and the audience members begin to wonder, well, what should we do? That is a sign that people don't realize they can lead. You can lead and you need to. If you're the type of person that would come to an event like this but you would never organize one, consider organizing one. If you're the type of person that would organize an event like this but you wouldn't do something on a national level, consider doing something on a national level. If you're already doing something on a national level, well, God bless you. But we need more of you. We can all demand a little more from each other and from ourselves. Today I was asked to speak about what I know about Iraq that you might not. The truth is, if you know in your heart it's wrong, what more do you need to know? What else is there to know? It is a war crime. It was a war crime from my vantage in Haditha, just as much as it's a war crime from our vantage in Providence. What I know is that every Iraqi I passed had eyes full of fear, rage, and hopelessness. And I know the U.S. military has done nothing to make that place a safer, more democratic society. I was told to ask myself, what do you know about Iraq that people need to know? Well, it's a war crime. But instead, let me ask, what do I know about you that you need to know? I know that you can't win a war crime and only we can end it. You can't win a war crime and only we can end it. I know that we all want to support our troops by ensuring that they don't kill or die for a lie. I know that the Vietnam War ended largely because the troops stopped fighting it. Troops that stop fighting are troops whose consciousness has been raised. So join us at Iraq Veterans Against the War, get in contact with us, and support our efforts to do just that. We are in a unique position to reach out to these men and women in the armed services, but we need to know that you are reaching out with a new energy and a new boldness to those within your grasp. In closing, I'll say again, because I butchered it the first time, you can't win a war crime. Only we can end it. So consider becoming leaders. Thank you.